Emily Parker believed her life was steady, even if it no longer felt warm. She lived in a quiet Oregon suburb where mornings began with coffee and evenings ended with the soft glow of porch lights. She had a good job, a clean home, and a husband who was polite and reliable. From the outside, everything looked complete. Inside, something important had slowly faded, and she could not remember when it began. Her marriage to Daniel had once been full of laughter and shared plans. Now their talks were short and practical. They spoke about bills, schedules, and chores. They rarely spoke about feelings. Daniel worked long hours and came home tired. Emily worked too, but she carried a different kind of tiredness. It was the tiredness of feeling unseen. On a rainy Thursday afternoon, Emily was finishing work when her phone buzzed. It was Daniel. His voice was calm and rushed at the same time. He told her his friend Mark was stranded nearby with a broken car and asked if she could give him a ride home. Emily paused for a second. She had plans to go straight home, but she agreed. It felt like a small thing, nothing worth questioning. When she arrived, Mark stood under a dark sky, rain soaking his jacket. He smiled when he saw her, relief clear on his face. He thanked her more than once as he got into the car. The rain fell hard, making the world outside feel distant and closed off at first. They talked about simple things: traffic, weather, work. Then the conversation shifted without effort. Mark asked about Emily's job and listened closely to her answers. He didn't interrupt or look away. He asked what she enjoyed, what she missed, what made her feel proud. The questions caught her off guard. She answered honestly without thinking too much. Emily realized she was talking more than she had in months. She felt awake. The drive that should have taken 10 minutes stretched longer due to traffic, but she did not mind. The rain, the sound of tires on wet roads, and the calm tone of Mark's voice created a strange bubble around them. Mark spoke about his own life too. He talked about regrets, about choices that seemed right at the time but felt heavy later. He did not complain or seek sympathy. He simply shared. Emily felt a quiet connection forming, subtle but strong. When they reached his place, Mark hesitated before leaving the car. He thanked her again and said something that stayed with her. He told her she deserved happiness and should not forget that. His voice was gentle, not dramatic. Then he stepped out into the rain and closed the door. Emily drove home slowly. His words replayed in her mind. She told herself it was nothing, just kindness. Still, her chest felt tight, and she could not explain why. That evening, Daniel talked about his day while scrolling on his phone. Emily listened and nodded. She thought about telling him about the ride, about the conversation, but the moment passed. Later, lying in bed, she stared at the ceiling while Daniel slept beside her. The house was quiet, yet her thoughts were loud. She wondered why a short car ride had affected her so deeply. The next morning, Emily woke early and tried to shake off the feeling. She told herself she was overthinking. Life went on as usual. Work meetings, emails, lunch at her desk. But the sense of being noticed, even briefly, stayed with her like a warm echo. A few days later, Mark sent a short message to thank her again and say he hoped she had a good week. Emily stared at the screen longer than necessary. The message was friendly and harmless. She replied politely and put her phone down. Yet her heart beat faster than it should have. They began to exchange short messages now and then. Nothing personal at first. Just casual notes about work, weather, and shared jokes from past group gatherings. Still, Emily felt something shifting. The days felt lighter when she heard from him. She hated herself for noticing at home. Daniel remained kind, but distant. He forgot small things like asking how her day was. He meant no harm. He simply assumed everything was fine. Emily did not blame him, but the silence between them grew heavier. One afternoon, Mark asked if he could buy her a coffee to properly thank her. Emily hesitated. She knew how it looked, even if it meant nothing. She told herself it was harmless and agreed to meet him in a public cafe near her office. The cafe was bright and busy, filled with quiet conversations and soft music. Mark arrived on time and smiled when he saw her. They ordered coffee and sat by the window. The conversation flowed easily, faster than before. There was no awkwardness, no tension she could name, just a sense of comfort that surprised her. Mark listened closely again. He remembered details she had mentioned before. Emily felt important in a way she had not felt in years. She caught herself smiling more than usual. When she checked the time, she was shocked at how long they had been talking. As they stood to leave, Mark thanked her again and said he enjoyed talking with her. Emily nodded and walked back to her office, feeling confused and alive at the same time. She told herself this had to stop. She told herself she was married and loyal. Still, her thoughts betrayed her. That night, Daniel mentioned Mark in passing, while talking about old college days. Emily's body tensed for just a second too long. Daniel did not notice, but Emily did. Guilt washed over her even though she had done nothing wrong. Over the next week, Emily became more aware of the cracks in her marriage. She noticed how Daniel avoided deep talks, how he brushed past emotional moments with practical answers. She wondered when they had stopped sharing their inner lives. Another message came from Mark, simple and friendly. Emily responded without thinking. The messages grew slightly longer. The tone remained respectful, but the connection felt stronger. She knew she was standing near a line she should not cross. One evening, Lee stood alone in her kitchen staring at her phone. She had not done anything wrong, yet her heart felt heavy. She realized the danger was not in actions but in emotions. She was opening a door she might not be able to close. Later that night, she sat beside Daniel on the couch. He watched television, relaxed and unaware. Emily looked at him and felt a mix of love, sadness, and distance. She wanted to reach for him, to rebuild what they had lost. But she did not know how to begin. As she went to bed, Emily understood something she had been avoiding. The simple favor had changed more than a routine afternoon. It had reminded her of who she used to be and what she was missing. The real struggle had only just begun, and she did not know which path she would choose. The rain returned that night, tapping softly against the windows as Emily lay awake, caught between loyalty and longing, knowing that nothing felt simple anymore. Emily told herself she could stop at any time. That thought followed her through the days like a quiet excuse. She kept busy with work, errands, and routines, but her mind often drifted to moments she did not plan. Short messages, small smiles, conversations that felt too easy. Mark did not push. That made it harder. They met again by accident, or at least that was how it felt. Emily ran into him at a bookstore downtown on a Saturday afternoon. The place smelled of paper and coffee. Mark looked surprised and happy to see her. They stood between tall shelves, talking softly, aware of others passing by. The meeting felt natural, as if life had placed them there on purpose. They walked to a nearby park and sat on opposite ends of a bench. There was space between them, yet the closeness felt stronger than before. They spoke about books, travel dreams, and moments they wished they could relive. Emily laughed freely. Mark watched her with warmth, not hunger, but care. That made her feel safe and uneasy at the same time. When they said goodbye, Mark did not reach for her. He simply looked at her and said he hoped she was doing okay. Emily nodded, unable to speak for a moment. She walked away with her heart racing, knowing she was standing on fragile ground. At home, Daniel was quiet but pleasant. He asked about her day and listened, though his eyes drifted toward the television. Emily answered in short sentences. She felt like a stranger in her own house. That night, she dreamed of conversations left unfinished and woke up feeling restless. The messages with Mark continued. They stayed careful, but emotion lived between the lines. Emily found herself waiting for replies, then feeling ashamed for waiting. She started putting her phone face down, as if hiding it would quiet her thoughts. One evening, Daniel came home earlier than usual. He suggested they cook dinner together. Emily agreed, surprised and hopeful. They chopped vegetables side by side, moving around each other in the small kitchen. For a moment, it felt like old times. They laughed over a small mistake. Emily felt a pull toward him, a reminder of what they once shared. During dinner, Daniel asked if she was happy. The question landed heavy. Emily hesitated, then said she was fine. Daniel nodded, but something in his eyes changed. He seemed unsure, as if he sensed the distance but did not know how to name it. Later that night, Emily lay awake again. She realized the danger was no longer outside her marriage. It was inside her heart. The next day, Mark asked if they could talk. Not text. Talk. Emily agreed, her chest tight with worry. They met at a quiet cafe during the late afternoon when the crowd was thin. They sat across from each other, hands on their cups, eyes careful. Mark spoke first. He said he respected her marriage. He said he never wanted to cause harm. He admitted that he felt a connection but did not want to cross a line she could not uncross. His honesty made Emily's throat tighten. She admitted her confusion. She spoke about feeling invisible at home, about missing closeness, about not knowing how things had slipped so far. She did not blame Daniel. She blamed time, silence, and fear. They sat quietly after that, listening to the soft sounds around them. Emily felt relief and sadness at once. Saying the truth out loud made it real. When they stood to leave, Mark said something simple. He said she deserved clarity, not chaos. He said he would step back if that was what she needed. Emily thanked him, her voice shaking. She watched him walk away and felt a sharp ache, like losing something she had never fully held. Days passed without messages. Emily felt the absence immediately. She forced herself to focus on home, on Daniel, on what still existed. She suggested a walk after dinner one evening. Daniel agreed, surprised but willing. They walked through their neighborhood as the sun set. Emily spoke carefully, choosing honesty without blame. She told him she felt distant and lonely. She told him she missed feeling close. Daniel listened in silence, his face serious. He admitted he had been lost in his own worries. He said he thought providing stability was enough. He had not realized how much silence could hurt. The conversation was not easy, but it was real. For the first time in years, they spoke without rushing to fix things that night. They sat together on the couch, not touching, but closer than before. Emily felt hope and fear mixed together. Repairing something broken felt harder than walking away. A week later, Emily received one final message from Mark. It was brief and kind. He wished her peace and said he hoped she found what she was looking for. There was no pressure, no regret, just understanding. Emily stared at the screen for a long time, then replied with a simple thank you. She deleted the message thread after that. Her hands shook, but she felt lighter. Life did not change overnight. Daniel and Emily had good days and quiet ones. They tried counseling. They learned to listen again slowly. Some wounds took time. Some moments still felt uncertain. Emily often thought about how close she had come to making a different choice. She understood now that infidelity did not begin with actions, but with silence and unmet needs. She knew she had been standing on the edge of a life that could have shattered everything she built. One evening, months later, Emily and Daniel sat on their porch watching the sky darken. The air was calm. Daniel reached for her hand and she let him. It was a small gesture. But it mattered. Emily knew she would always remember the simple favor that changed her view of herself. It taught her how fragile trust could be, and how important it was to speak. Before silence turned into distance, the shocking turn was not a secret affair or a dramatic ending. It was the moment she realized how easily a heart could drift, and how much strength it took to guide it back. As the porch lights came on and the street grew quiet, Emily felt something she had not felt in a long time. Not certainty, but commitment. And for now, that was enough.